Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Today is our Memorial Day celebration, number 302. We welcome you to the show. Our calling number is 646-200-4169. Press 1. That puts you in queue to talk to Michael. We'd love to hear from you. Hello, Michael.
Hi, sweetie. Welcome, everybody,
Hi.
to the show. We're honored and delighted that you are here. And we're honored and delighted to be able to support you. And our invitation for Memorial Day is an invitation to collectively and individually take responsibility for and put an end to the insanity that men have done. And that is primarily, not just this one, but primarily the insanity of war. It's interesting, we did a conference recently where the poster that was put forward in the conference had symbols for all of the world's religions, and the statement at the bottom of it will be that there will be peace in the world when there is peace among the world's religions. And, of course, there's never going to be peace among the world's religions because it's not about religions. It's about the people. You know, it's that statement that I oftentimes will tongue-in-cheek use at the introduction of my workshops is, everybody says I love humanity. It's the people that bother me. And so the problem isn't the religions. It's the people who made the game up. And people who make the game up out of religious or what they call religious ideas make the game up about hostility, fear, control, manipulation, we're going to run you kind of game. It's not religion at all. It's just men playing war games and setting up other men to find somebody to blame for what's going on in their lives, and let's go make war. Let's beat up on them. So our invitation to you is that you, if you've engaged in that game, stop playing that game. That is, if you've been pitted against another person over religious ideas, or you've been pitted against yourself, or you've been pitted against a religion, we're going to invite you to end war, whether your war is verbal, emotional, physical, or with weapons, doesn't matter. How can you do that? How can you put an end to war, Michael? Well, that's a rhetorical question, which I'll answer. Here's our plan. We're going to invite you today to stop playing the game that somebody else could possibly cause something to happen inside of you. We're going to invite you to take responsibility for what's happening inside of you. And if you don't like it, if it's painful, if it has any form of hostility or fear attached, we're going to invite you to engage in the process of forgiveness. Now, lest you think forgiveness has got to do with letting somebody else off the hook for what's happening inside of you, we're going to ask you to change that idea. We've been conned, sadly, by the religions into believing that forgiveness is about, I have something painful happening inside of you, but it's okay, I'll forgive you. That's a totally, completely fraudulent idea. If you have something painful happening inside of you, there was this man 2,000 years ago named Yeshua who knew precisely how the human mind worked. And yesterday we did a Mind Shifter support group, the first one at Unity North in Tampa.
And I was sharing with the group that after 25 years of working with these Aramaic ideas of forgiveness, I feel like I'm finally understanding them well enough to actually teach them properly as they were intended to be taught. Finally understanding what the men in Yeshua meant by the tool and how it works so that you can understand that precisely. And so here's our invitation. If you have any form of hostility or fear in you, we're going to invite you to forgive that hostility or fear. Not the person you think caused it, not yourself, but literally, and sadly, for 2,000 years they've been talking about forgiveness, and the idea has been proffered that it's about somebody else. And what we're going to invite you to do is take it back home. For 2,000 years, nobody has told us. At least I've scoured the planet. I have not found anywhere on the planet where we are told, and you may hear this for the first time right here today, forgiveness is a tool for removing something from you, inside of you, that does not belong in you. Nothing to do with letting other people off the hook. If you believe forgiveness is letting people off the hook, as many of the religions teach, then you'll get trapped in an insanity that is inescapable. So we're here to clarify the ideas, we're here to clean up the game, and we're here to open the space. So when you become an hostility and fear-free based being, I better not say that fast too many times, when you become an hostility or fear-free based being, then you will know what it is to live a human life. And we're here to support you in living a human life. How do you tell what a human life is? Just hold a newborn child. You know precisely what it is. That's the standard we're going to ask you to step up to. And if there's anything less than that going on in you, we invite you to forgive. Now, if you don't know how to forgive, because that's a technology that was disappeared almost 2,000 years ago, if you go to our website, www, and you got to put the www in front of it or you'll get a construction notice, www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side is a link that says download worksheets. That's the sixth link down. Click that link. The first 7 items under that section will give you the whole story, the how-to of forgiveness. It will walk you step by step through the worksheet process. And so here we are learning to forgive. And Jeannie, do we have David? Do we have Terry with us today? Or Terry, excuse me, Tim with us today.
They are both with us, yes.
Awesome. Gentlemen, how do you be?
Wonderful. Wonderful. How was your weekend?
It was fabulous. We did a Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing workshop on Saturday, and then we set up an extra workshop yesterday afternoon. It was a support group. We did a Mind Shifters support group yesterday afternoon, the first one in the beginning, so we got to help kick it off. We're actually going to do one tonight at Unity of Sarasota as well. And let's see, I think that was our 38th workshop in 42 days or 43 days. So things are rock and rolling, and I'm excited and delighted this morning. I was really in appreciation for, hey, I get to do this for another day. It's pretty awesome. David, how do you be, sir? How goes the packing job at Heartland?
Packing is going well. It's absolutely a splendid day today. Incredible. Beautiful, beautiful time of the year, and it's about 30 days earlier than what it normally is, so I'm enjoying this and looking forward to my trip to Florida and spending some time there. And the packing is going well. That's what I've been doing this morning, preparing for the trip. So everything is going well.
All right. Well, Jeannie, do we have any callers? Do either of you gentlemen, David, to Dr. Tim, do you have anything to share with us? Anything on your minds, questions, thoughts, answers, ideas that might help us to further our understanding of this process of forgiveness, how to do it, how to teach it, how to bring it to the world? It's just awesome to watch the number of places. You know, a few months ago we introduced Carrie. I don't know if she's on the show. She may call in today if she is. We introduced Carrie. She's called in several times over the last couple of months. She started doing worksheets and is seeing such awesome changes. And I just got a text from her this morning asking about getting a Mind Shifter support group started. So out in Colorado Springs, there'll be a Mind Shifter support group starting up. And so that's awesome, and things are rocking.
I think the thing is, Michael, and it is great that Carrie's doing that, and as you've talked about before, teach what it is that you want to learn. And really the only way that I know how to learn anything is to first acknowledge that I don't know anything. I get to be wrong in everything that it is that I've thought about doing or think about or what it is, and listen to some new information. That's the only way that my mind allows it to open up. And, of course, the tools are designed to do that and to have the support of people like the radio show here to call in and to question it. You know, you often ask people, do you have any questions? And from my experience, everyone has the questions. I always have a question about something, and my mind wants me to keep quiet with it so it doesn't have to look at anything new. So if anybody's out there and they're struggling with it, and it's just part of the process, and as soon as making a step towards that, then, you know, the person that we really teach, and this from my perspective, is I'm teaching myself. I'm always going to be teaching myself and then modeling that with other people. And that's the courageous thing to do, so congratulations, Carrie. And so if anyone has any questions out there, now's the time.
Yeah, and it's actually Carrie with a C. It's Carrie Ellis, and she actually has written a book on super immunity, and you can find her at Carrie, CaryEllis.com, where you can order her book on super immunity. It's one we're carrying on the tape table and getting lots of good feedback on. And, of course, if there's anything that I say that doesn't make sense to you, you know, that guy is nuts. I would absolutely 1,000% appreciate you picking up the phone and not calling me nuts. So let's let that one go. But if you think anything I say is nuts, then what I'm going to ask you to do is pick up the phone and do me the courtesy of saying, you know, that doesn't make sense. I have different information. My information says this. And if I'm in error somewhere, I love truth so much, I want to know about it. I want somebody to be able to show me, because then I can bring correction to my own mind, bring correction to my teaching, and it will go to the next level. And what we're here is to understand and correct everything that we have been taught that has been in error throughout all of our existence. And, you know, we obviously have been taught a whole lot that's in error, because, well, the people who study war and murder tell us that there have been over 200 million people killed in the last century. And, you know, I don't believe that a human being can take a human life. Can't happen. It's not possible. So you think about the newborn child and the behaviors the newborn child is capable of, and you will not find the capability for murder. So obviously, in order to convince all the people that are out there doing the game of murder, 200 million in a century, I mean, think about the insanity of that, the preciousness of a human life, and there are places where human life means nothing, and it's because the people to whom human life means nothing don't have a human life. All they have is a brainwash based in hostility or fear that governs their lives, whether they call their ideas business or pleasure or religion or whatever it is. If it's based in hostility or fear, it's a fraud, it's a lie, it's not true. And it's time for us to start living a human life. It's time for us to pick up and go, wow, have I got something of rage, of grief, of pain in me that takes me out of my human life and has me willing to do some sort of an offense toward another? Then I need forgiveness. I need support. So if you and I were sitting in a room right now as we're talking about these ideas, which are just a little different, of course, than our culture generally has, would you have a question for me? If so, the number 646-200-4169. I will appreciate your questions. Dr. Tim, do you have anything to share?
Well, if I was given the chance today, I was going to try and bring up in the chat room on Friday when Dale Allen Hoffman was on, one of the people said they were doing a worksheet, and what spilled out was something about eat my body, drink my blood, and that
right.
Yeshua was supposed to have said that. And
right.
It's been resonating with me throughout the weekend in a number of different ways. The idea of trying to understand what Yeshua said in the context of the language he was speaking at the time and in the context of the culture that he was speaking at the time. And I don't think it was this last Friday, but maybe the Friday before. Dale was saying how it was so powerful when it hit him one day at a new and deeper level that Yeshua never spoke English. That Yeshua had no awareness of the kind of culture we live in, and the you keep referring to idioms or the stories or the slang or the conventions of our human interaction, our legal system, and our way of prioritizing different values. And if you're going to, quote, eat his body and drink his blood, unquote, you're going to really understand deeply the message he was giving in the context that he was giving it and start doing that in your life. And I was reading Anthony DeMello, and he said, you can't imitate Christ and get anywhere. He said, you can give a saxophone to a monkey, and the monkey can try to do what a musician does with the saxophone, but that doesn't make the monkey a musician.
Without the brain cells, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Instead, you have to be what Christ was. You have to understand and apply the principles to what's going on in your energy system, and then you are that Christ. So I thought I would ask you to just one more time review from your understanding of the Kabor's manuscript and the words that Dale was sharing with us on Friday. What does that phrase mean? Eat my body, drink my blood. And how could it have gotten so turned around that people turn it into a ritual with unleavened bread and wine?
Well, let's understand, first of all, let's put forward the idea of what an idiom is. You're the best translator of Russian English and English into Russian. You do a workshop series up there in Chicago. A fellow from Russia comes in and you house him. You pick him up at the airport. You bring him to the workshops. You translate for him because I speak no Russian. And at the end of the week, having gotten together a couple of times for dinner and really enjoying this guy's company, I ask you if you will share with him that I think he's really cool. And you turn to him in your best Russian and you say, Michael thinks you've got a low body temperature. You translated my words perfectly, but you didn't say a word about what I meant. So an idiom is something that cannot be translated. You can have absolutely the best translators in the world, but if they don't know what the idiom means, the translation will be idiotic. Instead of idiomatic, it'll be idiotic. And so the whole idiom of eat my body and drink my blood is an idiom that's in current use today in the Aramaic culture, still today in Aramaic-speaking people. So imagine that I am this really fine cabinet maker. I make the finest, the most awesome, beautiful cabinets in the world. And you say, Michael, I want to learn to make cabinets like you. Can I come and study with you? And I say, yeah, you can come and study with me. But if you want to make cabinets like I do, you're going to have to eat my body and drink my blood. In other words, you're going to have to grok at the deepest levels. If you're not familiar with that word grok, it comes from Robert Heinlein, Stranger in a Strange Land, when this guy comes from Mars and he lands on Earth, and whenever he comes across something he doesn't understand, he withdraws inside himself and he totally digests until he understands what that is. That's the word grok from Robert Heinlein. It's a great word. So I am not going to live what Yeshua lived. I'm not going to be able to do the things he did, as you said we could. I'm not going to be able to do greater things than he did until I grok everything that he said. I've got to grok what it means to love your neighbor. I've got to grok what it means to have a condition called rachma in my mind. I've got to grok what it means to forgive from my heart the wrongs of my brother. Everything I've projected into my brain's image of another, I've got to remove from my physiology. I've got to grok every idea that he spoke about in order to eat his body and drink his blood. And then I'm going to show up able to experience and to bring forward the same things that he did. That's what he said we could do. And it is not belief in him that does it, it's by living. You know, if you look at be living, belief, it's you take it, you integrate it into your life. When it doesn't work, you come back to the drawing table and you say, you know, I don't quite get this. How do I do this? And as you refine your understanding, he says, you know, you've got to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. I think we can relatively safely assume that most everybody in his audience had what we call physical eyes and physical ears. That was another idiom. You've got to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. You've got to have the brain cells. In order to make the choices that he made, i.e., how do you grok standing in front of somebody who's going to have you sliced to smithereens and tortured, and when they're injured, you reach forward and you bring them healing? How do you do that? Well, here's how you do it. You have a human life, and you refuse to give it up for anything. And that opens a gateway to eternal life. Grok that one. You know, they're the things that we're going to have to come to bring into our experience. And it's a growth. It's a step-by-step process. You go back to the ancient teachings. They said, hear a little, bear a little, with stammering lips and another tongue while I speak to you. Of course, the Creator isn't speaking with stammering lips. We're listening with stammering ears. We have brain cells for hostility, fear, greed, control, religious manipulation, political manipulation. They're the brain cells that we tend to function out of. We're going to have to forgive all of that and go back to where we can actually live as human beings, as this awesome, active presence of love that we were designed to do and to be. Does that kind of enlarge your thinking on that one, Tim?
Yes. Yep. Exactly. And I think we hit it every once in a while, but I don't think we can hit it too often to pass over that concept again and understand that I can hear the words that Michael Ryce is presenting in a lecture in my native language of English, and he's speaking in his native language of English, and I can hear and understand the words, and it doesn't do anything for me until I go apply it in my life.
Well, and that brings to mind another example that I often use, Tim, on that one of building the brain cells to understand what that means. And when I talk about building brain cells, I'm not talking about building new physical structure. I'm talking about storing new information in our structure. So having the eyes to see and the ears to hear means I've got to have the information stored within me in order for my brain to produce that as a reality. And so another example I like to use is, let's imagine that we have a plate with an ounce of gold on it and a plate with a pound of hamburger on it, and we set those two plates on the floor, and we bring a dog in the room. Now, the dog has a choice. The dog could choose the ounce of gold, or the dog could choose the pound of hamburger. Now, we all know what the dog's going to, quote-unquote, choose, which is really no choice at all. The only thing the dog has the brain cells for is, food. I'm going to eat. If we could help the dog to build the brain cells to understand the meaning of an ounce of gold in our culture, and that if instead of chowing down on that, pound of hamburger and having instant gratification, that he could turn around and pick up the ounce of gold and he could go out and buy 1,500 pounds of hamburger, then there'd be no choice. The dog would take the ounce of gold. But without the eyes to see and the ears to hear what that means, the dog has no choice. We live in a culture that is so imbued with such rage and grief and pain and suffering and sadness and hatred and vengeance and grief and fear and hostility, that when we hear these words of love, it's kind of like speaking gold to a dog. You know, the first time you hear, you go, yeah, right. Okay, yeah, I love my neighbor. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, cool. And then neighbor comes along and pop comes the rage, because what's in brain cells is rage. So it's kind of a dual process. It's the process of forgiveness, removing what never belonged, that is hostility or fear, and then integrating what does belong in a human form, and that is a human life. This awesome active presence of love that we're designed to express as.
Michael.
And that's what we're here to support on a very practical level. Jeannie, I think I heard your voice peek in there.
Yes, we had 2 callers. We actually had 3. One disappeared, so if you'll call back in. But our first caller is area code 970.
Hey, Michael and Jeannie, it's Carrie Ellis in Colorado.
Hey, Carrie. Welcome.
I think I heard you mentioning my name as I called in, Michael. Thank you for talking about the Super Immunity Secrets book. I might also mention, too, there's a site called dailyohm.com, and they just published a course by me called Rejuvenate for a Younger You. And people just pay whatever they want. They can pay $1. They can pay $100. So it's really cool. Daily Ohm has got many, many viewers, and it's a really neat site that publishes a lot of great programs. So just in case anybody's interested in that, I said I'd toss that out there. But I do have a question for you.
Go for it. I'm excited that you're getting your support group started out there. That's fabulous.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that, starting a Mind Shifters group out here. And 2 questions, I guess. One is I've been doing worksheets with I did them with a person in the 1A position for a long time, and now I've started doing issues instead. And the worksheet kind of seems to come out a little bit differently. Is there anything seems like when I do my, the canceling process with that issue, I don't know if I'm doing it exactly right. So any suggestions on that?
Yeah, when you do a worksheet that involves yourself or an inanimate object or a situation, then you speak to that, you treat that as though that object of attention of that worksheet as though it were third person.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. It's exactly the same. If I go out and start my car, I'm in a hurry to get to work, and, all of a sudden I hear this groan and my car stops, and it won't run, the battery's dead. I have a goal for my car. And, the person who gets out of the car and kicks the car because it won't start has that goal, when they put it in their minds, links to their hostility. And so they attack the car because the car is not obeying their infantile demands. And so when I cancel my goal for the car to get me to work instantly, never stopping to think that I didn't take care of the battery when it gave me the signal 4 times that it was getting weaker and weaker, never wishing to take responsibility, it's all the car's fault. So I cancel the goal for the car to start, or I cancel the goal for the car to get me to work, and I speak to it and treat it as though it were a third person. And what that will do is it will take me into part of my mind that holds this hostility that I can project toward anything or anyone that gets in my way and does not obey my infantile demands.
Great. That makes a lot of sense. And so, secondly, I had a really interesting experience this morning. It's interesting, the deeper you go into these worksheets and I'll just affirm what has been said earlier on the show. This work is just so awesome. I love it, and I love the deeper levels of clearing that it's taking me to. I've had this sadness about my dog, thinking that she's going to die at a young age. And so I really started delving into that today because the sadness kept getting deeper. And my dad died at a very young age. I fear that maybe I will die at a young age. And I'm sure there's generations of that. And but I was
that'll be a good work to do.
I know. I already did some. I was thinking how much our intention and our energy that we carry around can affect our animals. And I had an incredible dog that I loved deeply that was a bigger dog, and he died at about, I think he might have been 9 or 10, I'm not exactly sure. And then another one that died at about 6. And so I have another big dog, and I just absolutely adore her. She's like my best friend. But I was thinking how our animals or our pets really absorb. I remember a Native American healer that I knew once said that our animals will absorb our illness and carry it for us. And I would kind of take that a step further and think if we are carrying a resonance inside us, they may tune into that resonance and then begin, expressing that resonance also because they're so bonded to us. And so I decided to do work.
They don't have the ability to refuse the vibration that we originate.
Yes. And I was just so impressed by that today. And I started doing worksheets this morning on that fear of death. And it's amazing how when I do a couple of worksheets, just how much the energy shifts, how fast. And I love that. But I know I will keep going deeper with it, but I just wanted to toss that out at you and get your insights on it, how much I realized our animals really pick up. And I had to realize this is my fear. This is something I'm, putting on her. And I need to dig into this and start clearing it within myself. And
well, one of the gifts that we were given as human beings is a gift that, as far as we know, no other creature on the planet has. And I always use the example of, if you live in the Southlands and winter's coming, the pair of robins that arrive in your backyard don't land on the fence, and the male turns to the female and says, sweetheart, we've been coming to this beautiful backyard in Tampa, Florida for 5 years now, and every year we come here, we build a robin's nest. I think this year we should build an Oriole model. You're not going to find a robin that can do that. The robin is only ever going to build a robin's nest because it has no ability to originate. Your dog has no ability to originate. There is an intelligence that comes through it, but the intelligence does not have the faculty of origination. You can almost imagine the moment at which the Creator said to humans, I've been doing a pretty good job in this creation. This is pretty awesome. The whales obey me, the ants obey me. Everything does exactly what I structured them for. Now, I'm ready for something new. Here's what I'm going to do. Humans, I am the only one who's been able to originate from here out. I sourced all of the energy that has expressed as this creation, and now I'm going to give you this most precious gift. You can use it any way you like. I have a way I would invite you to use it, and that is through my method of doing it, and that is out of the state of love, the stuff I created you out of. But hey, I'm going to give you free will. I'm going to let you go whatever way you want. You can go your own way. If you want to do something different, have at it. Go for it. And let me just warn you that if you do something different and it's out of harmony with the way I set the system up, it's going to hurt. You're going to say, ouch, a lot. And, it won't be because I'm punishing you for anything. I didn't put anything in there about you're going to get, I'm going to beat up on you or punish you because of what you did. All I'm going to do is I'm going to set the system up so that if you do what's in harmony with the system, you're going to love it. You're going to have yourself a blast. If you do what's out of harmony with the system, then you're going to create destruction in yourself and those around you. When I had a private practice years ago, I noticed on several occasions that people's animals would die of the diseases that they had
2 to 3 years before the human did.
Absolutely. Yep, I know. I've seen that too.
And Job gave us a very powerful lesson. You know, Job's story is all a story about miscreation. And if you remember, Job comes to a conclusion, and he says, that which I feared most has come upon me. In other words, if you're terrified of it, if you have fear of it, you just added energy to it. Guess who's coming to dinner? Guess what's going to play out? The thing that intensifies any frequency is the emotion that's behind it. So what Job got, and if you read the whole book of Job, you might have a little trouble figuring out what it was he was afraid of. And they tell you just in the first couple of lines, it says, Job was this upright dude, and he was afraid that his children weren't going to be as upright as he. There was his fear. And his end conclusion is, that which I feared most has come upon me. And as he winds around to understanding that, his process gets pretty intense. And as you heal, as you get to look at everything in you that creates destructive forces in your world, things are going to get pretty intense. And that's why a community is necessary to support us through it. And so I'd offer you're right on track, and our originative faculty is one that we really need to be careful with. You know, you look at how many people, their whole conversation is about, you know, I'll ask people, how many have ever been to an organ recital, and, you know, where people get together to talk about who had the most organs removed, who had the last organ removed, who's having the next organ removed, and mine was the worst the doctor had ever seen, and those people are originating disease, and they get what they're asking for. And not because it's natural in the system, but just because that's what they're asking for. And so when we change our asking, and you have to change to the deepest cellular level to create something different in your world.
Totally
Michael?
True. So exciting. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
So one of the tools that we teach, if you remember, is a tool called a mind shifter, and I think we've talked a little bit about this before, but my thought is you might want to do a mind shifter around the issue with animals and or with people dying. And that is, a mind shifter is a thought about an issue in our lives around which we have negative thoughts, and it's the opportunity through resonance to surface, process, and release the negative thoughts. And so what you do in order to do the mind shifter, and I'm pretty sure, Carrie, that we've explained this to you, so you know, but just for anybody else that's listening to the show, the mind shifter tool is one where you take a piece of paper, you divide it in two, and on the left-hand side of the page, you write the mind shifter, and on the right-hand side of the page, everything that comes up in response to it. And so a mind shifter that I might suggest that you work with is, it's safe and healing for those around me to die.
Mm.
Are you breathing?
No, I'm breathing. That's intense.
Okay. So what you do is you write that and then let everything, do a brain dump, everything that's in your brain about death out on the page, and then you'll see the next level of your work in order to clean up this vibration in you that supports death. And who knows, maybe you'll come out the other side and decide to just totally and completely let go of the whole frequency and simply live.
Yeah, I like it. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Very good.
All right. Very cool.
Michael?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have something here that I'd like to read that might be helpful. You know, look to me a little bit of information about different things that goes on. Someone sent this to me last week. It's called A Dog's Purpose from a 6-year-old. And it begins with, being a veterinarian, I had been called to examine a 10-year-old Irish wolfhound named Belker. The dog's owner, Ron, his wife, Lisa, and their little boy, Shane, were all very attached to Belker, and they were hoping for a miracle. I examined Belker and found that he was dying of cancer. I told the family we couldn't do anything for Belker and offered to perform the euthanasia procedure for the old dog in their home. As we made arrangements, Ron and Lisa told me they thought it would be good for their 6-year-old Shane to observe the procedure. They felt as though Shane might learn something from the experience. The next day, I felt the familiar catch in my throat as Belker's family surrounded him. Shane seemed so calm, petting the old dog for the last time, that I wondered if he understood what was going on. Within a few minutes, Belker slipped peacefully away. The little boy seemed to accept Belker's transition without any difficulty or confusion. We sat together for a while after Belker's death, wondering aloud about the sad fact that animal lives are shorter than human lives. Shane, who had been listening quietly, piped up and said, "I know why." Startled, we all turned to him. Hold on a second, I just messed up here. Startled, we all turned to him. What came out of his mouth next stunned me. I'd never heard a more comforting explanation. It had changed the way I try and live. He said, people are born so they can learn how to live a good life, like loving everybody all the time and being nice, right? The 6-year-old continued. Well, dogs already know how to do that, so they don't have to stay as long. Live simply, love generously, care deeply, speak kindly. Remember, if a dog was the teacher, you would learn things like, when loved ones come home, always run to greet them. Never pass up the opportunity to go for a joy ride. Allow the experience of fresh air and the wind in your face to be pure ecstasy. Take naps, stretch before rising, run, romp, and play daily. Thrive on attention and let people touch you. Avoid biting when a simple growl will do. On warm days, stop to lie on your back in the grass. On hot days, drink lots of water and lie under a shady tree. When you're happy, dance around and wag your entire body. Delight in the simple joy of a long walk. Be loyal. Never pretend to be something you're not. If what you want lies buried, dig until you find it. When someone is having a bad day, be silent. Sit close by and nuzzle them gently. There comes a time in life when you walk away from all the drama and people who create it. You surround yourself with people who make you laugh, forget the bad, and focus on the good. So love the people who treat you right. Think right thoughts for the ones who don't. Life is too short to be anything but happy. Falling down is a part of life. Getting back up is living.
Very cool, David. That's awesome. And you'll have to send that to Jeannie, and I will get Jeannie to put it on the website. That's a great story.
Yep. You're welcome.
Awesome. Carrie, you still with us?
I am still with you, but I'm out in the wind, so I'll just listen. Let you take the next caller.
Okay, sounds good. You have a blessed day.
You too. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye. 646-200-4169. Jeannie, another caller for us?
We actually have 2 callers. And, David, that was an awesome story, so definitely send it to me. Our next caller is area code 517. You're on the air.
Correct.
517. Hey.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hi there. Michael and Jeannie, it's wonderful to be a part of the group. I enjoy listening to you speak. I had a wonderful conversation with a beautiful human being earlier today, and she's from Palestine and had some questions about religion, and I mentioned some of our tools that we use, and we did have about a half-hour conversation, and I hope that she tuned in. She said she was going to tune in to listen to the program, but she did have some questions about religion. And so I would love for you to take a moment or two, Michael, or anyone on the program that feels they could clarify it more clearly, how our work is not really about religion, and it's much different in what religion really is. And also, being that she's from Palestine, has had a fair amount of prejudice against her. And I was explaining in a short period of time what I, perceived the tool of forgiveness is for, and how it's to unravel the reality.
Rex, Rex, I didn't understand. I didn't understand your word. She's had a fair amount of which?
A fair amount of, let's see, what were we referring to?
You had said that she had a fair amount of something against her.
Oh, prejudice. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A fair amount, a lot of prejudice. And she's a very intelligent woman, has a doctorate, and I think she said, well, I'm not sure exactly what it is. But my point of wanting to tone in here is to ask you to clarify religion, because if you just tune into our program, it would sound like we're talking about religion. And I would love for you to clarify that isn't exactly what we're doing at all. And also, I wanted to mention that the reason she called me is because she's interested in our support group, which we are having on Wednesday. So I thought I would mention that as well. And I'm going to tune out and let you address that. And if you have something you want to interact with me on, just I'll tune back in again. But I'll mute for now.
Cool. Okay, great. Thanks, Rex. So what we're looking for in this work are the tools that allow those that we call religious leaders, the real shining examples, to have the experience that they had. I think that you'll find that most of the people in whose name religions start were not looking to start a religion. They were simply giving people tools with which to experience a human life, this awesome active presence of love. And so what our goal is to simply engage the tools that will give you the experience, and then you go make up your own story about how everything works. But for you to reclaim and to live as this awesome active presence of love that you were designed to live as, I believe is the highest form of religion that there is. And so in that sense, that's what we're heading for, the highest form of religion we can. And that is to embody the direct, awesome experience of the active presence of love 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year in our physiology. Rather than what many people's religious ideas are, is they have some sort of archaic, ancient dogma or doctrine, oftentimes based in fear and hostility, that they think somebody thousands of years ago presented as gospel. And by so believing and having been so deeply brainwashed with those ideas, refuse to even look at anything that conflicts with the hostility and fear-based thoughts, and or have a story about why those hostility and fear-based thoughts are so great to live by. And so we're looking to get to real simple, the direct experience for every person that we touch of their human lives. That's what we're here for. So, Gene, do we have another caller?
Yes, we do. Area code 90909. You're on the air.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. This show is great. It's very informative, and I agree with you completely that the idea here is to help people help ourselves and help people get beyond the drama and connect.
You got it. That's it.
Yeah. And bring through the light of God, and that's what we're all here to do in each in our individual way.
Be a great title for a book, Beyond the Drama.
It actually would, wouldn't it?
Yes, an awesome title for a book.
Actually, very good. Yeah, so that's, I was just listening, and I got on. I wasn't sure what I would be asking about, but I don't know that I have any question. I certainly, sometimes you want to ask about what's going to happen with this or that, but the fact is, since we're the creators, I'm really the one I need to ask that about, don't I?
You got it. Where are you calling from? How did you find the show?
I found it, on the Blog Talk Radio site. I found it, and I became a follower. and I started listening, and I first heard, I started, a couple of weeks ago.
Fabulous.
And this is the first time that I've gotten on to talk, and I love what I just heard about what the little boy said. You know, out of the mouths of babes, and now more and more there's children being born that they don't need to go through the process that people such as I had to go through. They're stepping into their, I'll say, spiritual shoes much quicker. It's quite amazing.
We did a Mind Shifter support group here at Unity in North Tampa yesterday, and one of the ideas that came up was how much faster people are understanding and getting the material and being able to really move through things, and how others spent years struggling to get there. And there's actually a parable about that very principle in the ancient scriptures, where they talk about the person who goes into the vineyard at 8 o'clock in the morning to work and toils through the hot sun and, works all day. And at 5 o'clock when the work day is done, they go to get their paycheck, and they get paid X number of, I guess back then it would have been denarii or shekels or whatever. And then there was somebody who came to work in the vineyard at 4:30 and worked till 5 and got the same pay. And they're like, hey, this isn't fair. It's like, yeah, well, some of us chose to start and open an energy gate and to bring changes. And it's taken years of sometimes pain and struggle to get to the level of understanding. And now somebody walks in and, and 2 hours later, they've got it. And that is awesome, and just as it should be.
It is, and it's very exciting to watch it unfold. It's truly amazing. So that's great. That's wonderful. But I like that. I like that about going in the vineyard. I'll have to share that with my sister.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Delighted. Well, thank you, Paul. Keep listening. Bring a stranger to the show, and we'll look forward to the next time we get to chat. Blessings. Your name again was?
Sandy.
Sandy?
Sandy.
Delight to meet you, Sandy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you. You have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Okay, blessings. Take care. So our call-in number is 646-200-4169. I think we've got about 5 or 6 minutes left. If you have a question, a thought, an answer, an idea, we'd love to hear your sweet voice.
Sarah, I don't know if you want to call in real quick. She said she had a question, but I didn't think that we would have time to get to her, so she was going to call in tomorrow. But if you dial in real quickly, I'll turn you on, and maybe we've got time to get to your questions today. She's beginning to study the Aramaic alphabet. She said she wanted the geometric 3- and 4-dimensional effect of it, and she had some questions about the Aramaic.
Okay, well, we'll be happy to do that, or that might be a good question to write in the chat room for Aramaic Fridays. Dale, having, I haven't become deeply involved in the alphabet or the writing, the reading, the speaking, the translating of the language. My job in the whole process has been to take the translator's work and put it into the laboratory and see if it works, to understand how to present it so that the originally intended effect is there. So that's been my task in the process. So that I may not be the best person to ask those questions of it. In the meantime, our call-in number is 646-200-4169, and we're actually in Tampa. We've finished up our workshops here. We're actually, the van's about 2/3 packed. Part of our, every week or 10 days we unpack and repack. It's about a half day's process to get the van ready to travel. So we'll be traveling to Sarasota tomorrow. We're actually going to have a couple of days off after 38 workshops in about 42 or 43 days. And
we're traveling there
weekend,
today, not tomorrow.
Say again?
We're traveling there today. We're speaking tonight. Yeah. And Sarah is on the phone.
Packing the van up to head to Sarasota, and we'll be at Unity of Sarasota tonight, a worksheet practicum at the support group there, 7 o'clock tonight at Unity in Sarasota. And then Friday, all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we'll be doing a 3-day non-residential mini-intensive. So if anybody's interested in that, we're actually going to be at a place on the beach in Sarasota, Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 9 to 6. Doing a mini intensive, and then The next weekend, we'll start a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive, and it'll be a full-blown residential intensive with food, accommodations, and everything. That workshop's full from the 6th through the 14th. And then on the 14th, and that workshop is also full, the 14th through the 22nd, we'll be doing another 9-day. And then the next week, we're in Jacksonville, Florida, doing 7 days of workshops. So come to the show or come and join us this weekend and work through the rest of those workshops, and just check out our website and you'll know all the details. So, Sarah, you have a question for us. As I say, the alphabet's not my strong suit, so Aramaic Fridays might be a better day, but fire away.
Well, I've been enjoying your Aramaic Fridays, and I've just been checking out some of the stuff on the Internet about the different, it's Aramaic or Syriac or Aramaic Hebrew, just kind of putting my toe in the water with it. But one of the Aramaic Fridays, you mentioned something about the Beatitudes and, this eat the body, drink the blood thing. I've been kind of working with that too, that, taking that within the being. But you said something about, it was a couple of weeks ago, if a person did this, they would get to move their life forward. That was your exact phrase. They would get to move their life forward. And then last Friday, you said something about if they did the thing, they would get to cast out demons. Okay. Yeah. So anytime you want to expound on that some more, that would be awesome.
Well, they're exactly the same thing. The only thing that holds us back are our own demons, our own hostilities and fears. So as you begin to forgive, as you understand the Aramaic tools, you cast out the hostility and fear, those things that were called demons. If you remember, they said perfect love casts out fear. Fear is a demon in Aramaic. And as you remove the fear, then instead of hesitatingly holding back and not stepping forward in your life, you're going to step forward and you're going to create a whole new world around you and a whole new life inside of you and outside of you. So both ideas are simultaneously, identically the same. Does that make sense?
It's funny, since I've been doing some worksheets and tuning in with your broadcast and, following along with your ideas, I'm finding little bits of fear and hostility showing up that, I wasn't aware that was in there, and yet it's the kind of thing that would definitely screw up your behavior, and your thinking if you don't deal with it.
Well, and the fact that, you've just pointed out the meaning of an Aramaic suffix, which is O-O-T-A, uta. When you add uta to a word in Aramaic, it means that our decisions, behaviors, and perceptions are being controlled from the unconscious level. So when you say, as I've started doing the work, I'm finding some things I didn't realize were there. So you're bringing things out of that dissociated state of mind into awareness, which is where you can change them. And then they'll no longer affect your perception, decisions, and behavior. And when you do that, your life moves forward. You just got rid of another demon. Awesome. Nice work. Cool.
Yeah, and it's working at some of the most foundational levels of life, like a whole different kind of life.
Exactly.
Yeah, a whole different life plan.
And that's the religious experience. Be as a child, go back into your original human life as you were designed to live, and you're now living the highest form of religious experience that's possible. And that's what we're here to support every mind, heart, and being on the planet with. And we're down to about 20 seconds, so we're just going to say, please bring a stranger with you to the show tomorrow. Sarah, if there's more conversation for us to have, I would love to have you as the opening caller on the show tomorrow. We're delighted to share with you, and we invite everybody to create the best year yet of your eternal lives. Blessings. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeannie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeannie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com. www.myshiftersradio.com.